Hey everyone, Dan here. Today we're going to take a look at Brinker International, ticker symbol EAT. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also, if you would like to receive a once or twice per week email from me with additional trade ideas, supplemental info from the videos that I make, just overall additional info that I don't have time to make videos about, there is a link in the description below where you can drop your email into a Google form, and that will get you on the list. I'm going to roll that out in August, and I'll send you a note before I start it in case it's no longer something that's interesting to you and you want to opt out. All right, so I think I see a pretty solid setup here with EAT. Of course, every setup has the potential to not go the way that we hypothesize that it might. So just keep in mind, do your own due diligence. This is just a visual trend that I see forming, but all trends break at various points in time. And so just because it looks like it's going to do something doesn't mean that it is. So be cautious with any of your trades. All right, so let me show you what I see. Basically, Brinker has had a pretty solid run up over a lengthy period of time. You see this most recently, it ran up from 20 to about nearly 50, and then it consolidated briefly, and then it made another run from about 40 bucks at the low here, maybe closer to 41, up to 78, and now it's since pulled back and is in the 60s. So it's doing a good job of making some pretty solid impulsive moves up and then taking a breath, making its next move up and then taking a breath. So what we're going to look at today is how solid this breath is, and sort of like what it looks like in terms of, is this a good dip buying opportunity to get into? So first thing I'm going to look at are the levels at which it's kind of consolidating at or bouncing at. So we see this support level that it created here through this consolidation, really, really solid. There was the flip here from resistance to support that gave it a nice push up, and then it maintained that support 2 or 3 times afterward, giving it the push up to over this zone where it had reached some resistance. I guess I could extend this through this area. Ooh, no, that does something ugly with the box for some reason, so I'm gonna leave it there. But basically, it's hit resistance right around here, and then pulled back into this zone where it then maintained support through several periods. Now, this area where it's pulled back into, I would keep, or where it initially hit this resistance, I'd keep an eye on that too, because we see that then lended future support and is very, very close to the most recent support that it had after this slight pushback here. Now, one area of big caution that I would put on here is, if it continues, if it comes here again and tops out here again, I would be careful with it, because we have seen this in the past where it does some repetitive topping outs. You see it like in this zone here, it pulled back and then it tried to make a move up, but it topped out right in this same zone, and then it pushed back quite a bit further, dropped it down about 14, 15 bucks. And so, we could see it come down and sort of like test this 59.69 again. We could see it bounce off of there and come down and test this area around 54 again. And if that's the case, then those could be additional sort of like bounce dip buying opportunities depending on what the price action is doing at that time. But basically, the thing that's standing out to me is, we were in this channel here that Brinker was holding quite solidly, and then essentially, what we see is it burst itself out of the channel to the upside, and then it couldn't hold that break, and then it pushed it down through pretty extensively, dropping it, like I said, about $25, which is a pretty significant pullback percentage-wise. Now, because there's really solid support zones underneath when this move up started, and it developed really solid support that it's still maintaining today on its way up, I think that this could be lining up for a solid dip buy opportunity. The other factor that I would look at here is, if we take our fib from the lows in that area to, the highs in that area, this is too much blue, can't see nothing. All right, so you see it came down here. This 54.93 is 61.8 on the fib retracement, and so it bounced off that really solidly and then came up and hit that resistance just over the 38.2, pulled back down toward the 61.8, and now is sort of like settling along that 50% level. Now the question is, again, can it establish support over that 63.86 level, which is the 38.2%? If so, then I think we have a good chance for it to kick off its next run upward. So that's sort of the play as I'm seeing it. Broke out of this relatively long-term channel that had been in this channel since March 19th of 2020. And so it just broke out of it in April, late April of this year. And so now it's sort of like consolidating along these key areas, not just because of the fib, but also because of the previous supply and demand zones that we see in the blue. Now, just keep in mind that like I said at the beginning, there's of course the possibility that it could fall through any of these additional levels. So you need to just not blindly trust the fib, not blindly trust the support and resistance zones, but maintain focus on what it's doing at any given point in these levels to determine whether or not you think it makes sense to buy in. But this was the sort of trend and the charting that I had noticed and wanted to share it in case sort of this data is interesting and could help you sort of do your own due diligence and figure out a trade for yourself. Now on the RSI, just throw in a couple of indicators here. We're just about mid-range. This is on the daily, so just keep that in mind too. If you're doing longer or shorter term tradings, you might want to adjust your time frame and then chart that accordingly. But yeah, just about mid-range on the RSI here, but we are seeing a nice push up. It's making a bunch of higher lows on the RSI. So it's looking as though it wants to make a run and try to not peak out at this 55, 52. You see where it topped out here and here and here and here, right around that area. So we're approaching that now. So if we can get over that, say 56 area on the RSI with no immediate pullback, then that could be a good sign that it is, possibly going to kick off a nice run up. We have a bullish crossover here on the MACD, but it is curling in toward the signal line a little bit, and as you see, it's down from the highs of this wick on this daily candle at the moment. So, we'll have to see if it can sort of maintain some bullish momentum and sort of have this just be a brief little dip in the histogram and then a nice run up. But it does have plenty of room to run as it sits right around the baseline right now. It has a ton of room to the upside if it wants to run and can get the momentum going. On the MAs, they're curling together right now, so this is another thing that I would keep an eye on if you're kind of deciding when might be a good time to try to buy in. As these MAs start to unravel, they will unravel in either a bullish or a bearish direction. So the bullish direction would be the MA 200 being on the bottom with the 50 on top of it and the 20 on top of the 50. The bearish unraveling would be the opposite, and that would indicate that there's potentially a big move that's kicking off in that bullish or bearish direction, depending on what it does at that time. So yeah, I would just keep an eye on those things. That's what I'm going to be doing anyway. And yeah, I wish you good luck if you get into this one. I hope that these ideas were interesting. I don't really know what to say about this one, but no, I appreciate you sharing the video. If you like this, or if you like any of my other videos, sharing them on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you talk stocks or consume stock info, that's cool, and I definitely appreciate it. All right, well, thanks a bunch for watching. I will see you in the next video.